game of lacrosse originated as a fierce game to resolve conflict and help prepare the Native Americans for war. During the 1600s, the game had very few rules and up to thousands of players per side. The field of play did not have out of bounds, and the goals were miles apart. The first team to score won the game, but it wasn't quite as easy as it sounds. One game could take several days. Two of the main pioneers who helped transform the game of lacrosse into the more modern form played today are John Day Brebeuf and W. George Beers. Beers led the path toward the modern rules in 1867 when he set field dimensions, limits on the numbers of players, etc. Three basic forms of lacrosse developed in Native American tribes were Southeastern, Great Lakes, and Iroquoian. In the Southeast, 2 sticks were used by each player, 1 in each hand. The modern version of the game is most similar to the Iroquoian version. The Iroquois played with sticks at least 3 feet in length, with a large triangle of webbing at the end of them for the ball. It's really difficult to imagine the importance and the intensity of the game that was played back then to settle tribal disputes and prepare for war. Although lacrosse does not still carry the same societal importance today, it has steadily grown to become a very popular sport. The Lawrenceville School was one of the first 3 high schools in the entire country to have a team in the 1800s, and Lawrenceville deserves credit for its influence on the growth of the game. Lawrenceville's lacrosse birth in the 1800s lasted until sometime around 1887. It's unknown why the program came to a halt just before the turn of the century. The game of lacrosse has changed in many ways from 1959 until now. So I understand that you played lacrosse here at Lawrenceville. So basically just describe any changes to the game from when you played until now.
Well, I mean, there are tons, obviously, tons of rule changes, equipment changes. I think if you asked any coach this with experience, they would note the kind of specialization of the game. That it used to be a sport where your athleticism shined because it was all over the field, and now you've got more specific, long stick midi positions, defensive short stick midi positions that are a little bit more refined. But again, the bottom line is, I think we want kids who can do it all. So I think that will endure, having to recruit kids and totally stay up to speed on new offenses, and it's a lot. It becomes it's what the college game kind of used to require of a coach, trickling down to the high school.
Through high school and college, I still played with a wooden stick, and then when I got to high school, middle school to high school, STX became a company, and they came out with the plastic head. The pockets were gut with leather thongs. Then the metal shaft, and now the metal shaft has evolved to titanium. The heads that are recessed a little bit for the torque on the shot, the walls for facing off. Specialization. When I was in college, we had 1 year, in fact, where you could have a certain number of long sticks on the field. There wasn't a 4 long stick rule. 1 year, my junior year in college, they took the face-off basically out of the game except for the beginning of each quarter. Whenever you scored a goal, the ball went to the other team. Possession went to the other team at the midline. It only lasted 1 year. Skill level has increased. Really good college players in my generation could get away with, being 70% one hand, 30% the other. Now you got to have both hands to be successful. Videotaping of games, studying film has just exploded and has allowed teams to build game plans, zones, man-to-man schemes, man-up, man-down schemes, all that kind of stuff. Because the players have gotten so good, and because the speed has increased so much, the rules committee has had to keep up with that. So all the rules that we see now, the NCAA rules that we have now, the quick restarts after the ball goes out of bounds, now substituting on the fly, all that kind of stuff has changed literally just in the last generation because of the need to. But in the end, if I've learned anything over the years, is that the fundamentals haven't changed at all. The ability, the strength, the speed, the size of players, the quickness of players has gotten better and better. But if you can't pick up a ground ball in traffic, if you can't see the field and make a good straight line pass, if you can't catch and throw on the run, if you can't play good defense, one-on-one defense, everything else breaks down.
After the fleeting existence of Lawrenceville lacrosse in the 1880s, Coach Marshall Chambers resurrected the game at Lawrenceville in 1959 with the help of Roger Kohlhauer. The L Club also supported the birth of lacrosse at Lawrenceville. The L Club was a school organization that helped make the Big Red's athletic decisions. Because of the popularity and success of lacrosse during its first year under Coach Chambers, the L Club decided to make lacrosse a varsity sport the following year.
It's pretty hard not to remember Marsh Chambers in his Nantucket red pants. I mean, that was kind of an iconic move. He'd spend his summers on Nantucket, so he would always come to practice and games in full-length Nantucket red faded trousers.
So my coach when I was here was Marsh Chambers, who started lacrosse at Lawrenceville, basically, or the modern game of lacrosse at Lawrenceville. And Coach Chambers was a terrific guy, and his wife Ginny Chambers, who they lived in Cleve for, I don't know, 30 years or some absurdly long time. You know, she was like a mom to the boys on the team in some ways. I don't think I knew Mr. Chambers that well. There was another guy whose name is Graham Cole, but he was like the assistant coach, but the guy who really like made it happen. He mostly coached the defense, but he was more up to date on the game. And Chambers was more of like the granddaddy inventor in a way. So I think that was kind of an interesting relationship, and I think that helped those guys of that era, of my era of playing here, become better.
Coach Chambers led the team from 1959 until 1990, when he finally decided to retire from the position of head coach. Assistant coach Rusty Lavick stepped forward and decided to take the head coaching job. It's very worthy to note that during Coach Lavick's first year as head coach, his team went undefeated.
I came here in 1981 and coached the JV team with Coach Fitzpatrick. We coached together for 5 years, I think, and then went to graduate school and came back and continued to coach the JV team until 1990 when Mr. Chambers retired, and then was appointed varsity coach for the 91 season, and then coached the team through the 90s. So I was, you know, the tradition was strong. I was just here. I was part of the coaching staff, and was enjoying it a lot. And you know, I guess it was, as much as anything else, it was just a condition of being in the right place at the right time.
I think Coach Lavick, he had a huge job because he was taking over for this legendary coach, and you know, has some serious shoes to fill. Like, what are we going to do? How can I maintain the same level? And he did, you know, and even went on, as I noted, kind of went on to have 1 or 2 undefeated seasons.
I'd say it's been a central focus and interest in my life here. You know, as much as anybody who lives and works here wears a lot of hats, you know. And so to teach and to live in a house and to coach is standard fare. Lacrosse has been very central, very important, very enjoyable for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is the power of the tradition here. Kind of a big family.
Coach Lavick not only went undefeated during his first year as coach, but he also put together another undefeated season in 1995. Coach Lavick was also named Coach of the Year in 1992 by the Trenton Times. He inspired his players to be successful both on and off the field all the way until 1999, which was his last year as head coach of the Big Red. In 2000, Coach Alan Fitzpatrick took control of the team as head coach. Throughout Coach Fitzpatrick's 10 years as head coach, he's posted a .839 winning percentage, 156 wins with only 30 losses. Coach Fitzpatrick led his 2006 team to an undefeated season and 5th national ranking, according to laxpower.com.
I kind of had a sense that I wanted to teach and coach and be a part of something that was constantly renewing itself. So I like the idea that each season, each year, brings a new team, a new puzzle, new opportunity to build something and put things together. So it seems to have worked out.
You originally started coaching hockey here, right?
I came back in '79 and I coached house football, varsity hockey, and JV lacrosse. And I did that for 3 years, and then I became the head varsity coach of hockey.
And then eventually, you obviously turned over from...
Right, I stopped doing hockey in the early 90s, went back and got my graduate degree in fine arts, my MFA in painting in New York. And when I came back, I went with the varsity lacrosse team as an assistant to Rusty Lavick. I did that for about 5 years, and then Rusty went away on sabbatical and I took over for him, and so I've been the head coach since 2000. My son played here, my brother played here, my nephew played here. It's just a part of what I do. I don't know a world without it at this point.
But I think we really coach kids up. I think we give them skills and knowledge how to be better players, and that's a great feeling.
It is what I do. I mean, it's been part of my family ever since I came back here.
Lawrenceville Lacrosse has impacted the lives of players, coaches, students, parents, and faculty for the past 50 years. It has played a major role in the school as many students look forward to the spring every year. After hearing the interviews and seeing the photographs, it's clear that all three of the head coaches at Lawrenceville dedicated part of their lives to the sport. The success and storied tradition of Lawrenceville Lacrosse deserves to be recognized, as it will continue to inspire many lives in the future.